that.
Oh,
And we're
working.
back.
Oh, wow, working. Look at that.
Woo.
Wow, woohoo!
So where did we drop out? What time?
Well, we never started.
Intro works.
No? Oh, intros work. Just your mics. Maybe they're practicing miming.
Damn it. We started
So, look at that. Let's just go back to the start here. Now we can hear you. Okay, you're on. Yep, got it. Maybe they're just practicing miming. No audio, bro. I've tried calling and messaging. Phone's off, Chris. Thanks, love your work.
Thank you.
So,
Great.
where were we? Here we go. 3 words.
Right.
First word. Silence.
I don't know how to do gold.
Well, we spoke some shit about some shit for the first 12 minutes of the show, and what did we talk about? Well, I love live TV. Okay.
So the rule there is that we
rule is-
open the comments quicker.
There you go. So that's
I
part of
was
the
trying
process
to get
now.
to it, but I was just always worried
It's
about
interesting too, because normally we've got a little monitor here that shows us the audio bouncing up and down, and I just didn't even notice that the audio
Yeah.
wasn't bouncing up and down.
Well, we checked it before we went live.
And
though.
Max was hearing it. So what was Max hearing?
Max was monitoring the program because he had the headphone button on, but the audio was on not follow and not live. So yeah, so just
So how do we?
However, Live Stream Studio has been resetting a lot of the audio settings, which is a bit of a nightmare. It's not remembering the way we leave the program every time we open up. So
Yeah.
not putting excuses there, but it is. And you did restart the program before we went live.
Yeah, live
that's what
stream.
it did.
Just for those that are interested or curious at all, we use the Live Stream Studio software made by a company called Livestream, who were recently bought by Vimeo, and they're going to bundle it into their Vimeo Live offering. Now, the software has been, I mean, it's pretty bloody solid. We've used OBS in the past, we've used Wirecast, we've used Mimo Live, we've used Ecamm Live. The Livestream Studio is kind of really the best of breed if you want to do this kind of multiple digital SLR camera, multiple microphone setup thing, right? So it really is the most, and it comes in a dedicated box, which is basically a PC in a box with a whole bunch of Blackmagic video cards and nice audio inputs. It's about a $15,000 investment, Australian dollars. So it's a pretty solid unit, but the software has been buggy. There are a few things it just doesn't do, like it doesn't allow us to bring up the Facebook comments on the screen for some reason. Most of the other consumer-based software apps allow you to do that. And the software has been a little bit buggy, and every time they roll out an update, the frickin' thing breaks. So, a little bit pissed off with Livestream for not rolling out their updates in a more controlled fashion. But thank you to our Facebook audience for being so understanding and telling us that there was no audio.
It was interesting too because the audiences kept going up even though they couldn't hear anything.
That's right. Well, in fact, Chris Ryan just said the Facebook algorithm is going nuts. This will go viral because of all the comments. So maybe we should, and a lot of people saying silence really is golden.
There
Thank
you
you
go.
very much.
It's a little Easter egg.
You know
we
what
did
they
for
missed?
You.
They missed the Ahref lang tag. Ahref lang tag.
Do you want to do that again?
No.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Well, they can see you mime it.
I am going to sneeze.
Bless you.
Excuse me. I bet you glad audio is working now, aren't you, kids? All right. So before we get into the show, let's have a recap and have a look at. Can we do the bumper again, Max? For the stuff that happened? Yeah? Great. Let's have a look at what happened this week in the news.
Stuff that happened.
Yay, live TV.
Oh, the music stopped. Now, Rob Parmenter says, I feel bad they don't know. It's all right, Rob. It's perfectly okay to have a good laugh at our expense. That's what we're here for.
Yep, entertainment is one of our values.
So what happened this week? WP Tavern, our good friend over there, Sarah Gooding, published an article announcing that WordPress developer Jason Bobich, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, has created an open source client-side React app, try saying that 10 times, called Just Right, as in W-R-I-T-E. Look at that, Max is so good with the lower thirds. We've done this before, we rehearsed this earlier with no sound, so now it's just rolling it out again, it's great. And the reason that he did this is he wanted to basically start exploring the possibilities of the WP REST API. And so he built this little app using React on the WP REST API, which allows you to access any WordPress install that has the JW plugin installed, the Just Right plugin installed, and then post a post and just write a post without all of the WordPress confusion on the dashboard. Just write a post and have a beautiful writing experience. Now, I'm glad he's done this because, as you know, if you put someone who doesn't know WordPress in front of WordPress and tell them to write a post, they get very confused and they go, oh, what's this button here do? Here we go, I just did it again. We just rehearsed this earlier with no sound. And
I feel like this is deja vu.
It is deja vu. What's this button here do? And it's very confusing. In fact, we built a business called Video User Manuals on the fact that the WordPress dashboard is so confusing that you need to provide video tutorials to teach people how to use it. So it's interesting that Jason Bobich has chosen that problem to solve. He wrote this app in
10 days.
There we go. Look at that, hey? I'm the words, he's the numbers. He wrote this app in
10 days.
and to explore the WP REST API. But he could have built anything, right? But he built something that was improving the user experience, which is so. Round of applause for Jason Bobich. Yeah. Well done. Very impressed with that. You can download a demo. It is a work in progress. It's you can have a look at a demo and you can download it from GitHub and take it for a spin.
Love it, love it. Well, a lot's been happening over at Yoast. There's a great article here talking about geo-targeting, and I think it's always really interesting because lately we've been talking a lot about, you know, developing your website for mobile first to give a good user experience, and I think it's also important to serve the right type of website content for the location of where people or your visitors are coming from. But the interesting point of this article is that we need to keep in mind that the Google bot is always coming from Mountain View, California. So while we can be really smart in our marketing by serving a really good user experience to a local audience, it can go completely unnoticed from an SEO point of view. So this article talks about the hreflang tag, and silently Troy did a little challenge to say that 10 times.
hreflang tag, 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 hreflang tag.
Perfect.
Woohoo!
Excellent. So I can barely say it once, but there's a complete ultimate guide to the hreflang tag. So check it out at wplinks.io/ask Yoast. It will redirect you to the Yoast article. Click on the link and get your head around telling Google which content it should serve for different parts of the world.
Beautiful. Now, I must say geotargeting, I love geotargeting because whenever I travel, the first thing I do when I land somewhere and I've settled into my accommodation is I open up TripAdvisor and I go breakfast nearby.
Oh, that's right. And Starbucks.
And so I love geotargeting because it basically tells me where the best breakfast is nearby based on other travellers' ratings. So I'm a big fan of geotargeting optimization. I use it as a customer.
And that's the user experience. Like imagine if you had to type in the town, the suburb, the postcode. Like,
that's right.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's right, correct. Ain't nobody got time for that. Now, in other news, Astutio Design, Development and Strategy, they are an agency, I'm not sure where they're from, but they have a product that I've been using for a long time called Slickmap. And what it allows you to do is produce a nice visual sitemap of your client's website. This is not a WordPress plugin. It is a simple style sheet for displaying finished sitemaps directly from an HTML unordered list. So you basically just map out a bulleted list of the navigation of a website, and it applies a nice style sheet, and it provides a nice, beautiful visual. Can we do that or not? Can we do the screen share
or not? I've queued it up. If,
beautiful.
The producer wants to go.
See if Max can do this. There, well, look at that! It's fantastic. It's beautiful. Now, to produce something like this, would if you were using, even if you were using something like Elementor or Beaver Builder, would take a long time, and it would be screwy at best, right? So Slickmap, what it allows you to do is just take a bulleted list in HTML, and then obviously you've got your, your indents and your hierarchy set up right, and then it provides a CSS style sheet. Makes it look like a beautiful sitemap that you can send to your client and say, hey, is this what we're thinking? And they say yes, and you go, great, approve, move on. Now, it hasn't been updated in years, and a lot of our members, because this is one of the tools that we recommend to improve your development and your client workflow, a lot of our members have been complaining that it has been neglected, but they have finally released version 2.0, and some upgrades. You can now go 4 levels deep. Previously it was a maximum of 3, has a new flex box layout, which I'm not even sure what that means, but I'm sure it's good, and no images required, and responsive is built in, and they've updated the color scheme. So we're very excited about that. Finally, do you want to talk about Fast Company?
Sure. So this article is talking about creative burnout and his 10 ways to beat it. Now, going through this list, I'm not sure whether we or I agree with all of it, but check out the full list. I'm not going to go through all the information here. But I think it is an important thing, because when you're constantly using your brain to be creative and solving problems, you're kind of switching between your creative side, your logical side. You can definitely get to burnout. And some of the tips here is, take a day off, which sometimes seems really simple, but when there's a large, long list of things that need to be completed and deadlines to meet, we'll get that out, that can seem impossible. But I think one thing that we learn at Tucky's event is schedule it. Like, schedule your day off. Get in your passion zone and pop that in the calendar, and nothing can kind of be put in the way of that. Practicing saying no. This is something that I've probably struggled a lot with over the years, is being a bit of a yes man.
Can I have $10?
Sure. See what I mean? Still not good at it.
Can I have $50?
No. Now I'm good at it. So that's really interesting as well. This says work on multiple things at once. Now, I don't know if I kind of agree. I used to be someone who used to pride myself in multitasking.
Yeah.
In fact, this is really weird. I was going through my tax return stuff recently, and I found that napkin that you drew with the multitasking thing.
Really?
We met at the cafe probably over a year ago.
Yeah.
So I filed it for some reason.
Yeah.
But that's always stuck with me, that if you're trying to do 4 or 5 tasks at once, you're only fueling it at 20%.
So I think one of the things they're talking about here is that the idea is that you have multiple projects, and so that you have variety and you avoid burnout by doing different things. I don't know, man. I don't like it. I'm definitely a single. I think the older I get, the more I realise that multitasking is bullshit. It's a complete furphy. It actually is. There's been studies to say that it's damaging to your brain. You are less productive if you're multitasking. And if I'm working on one project, I'm working on that project. I'm present in that project 100%. And I'm really trying to stop multitasking as much as possible.
Yep. And the last one here, which I think is really good, is be true to yourself, and do take be realistic to how you're feeling, be self-aware, and take some self-care time, and I think it's really good because all these articles come from our WP Wednesday. So if you haven't subscribed to that, go to thewpwednesday.com and subscribe. But all these articles, one of the categories is self-care, and I always really enjoy reading those self-care articles because they are really relevant to people who are in that freelancer and creative space, such as all our members and ourselves. So I can assure you that this article is going to appear in that category. And
it's funny, self-care is not something that's talked about a lot, but in Vern Harnish's book Scaling Up, which is really version 2 of Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, one of the number 1 Rockefeller habit is making sure that your management team are healthy. And when he says healthy, he's talking about everyone being on the same page, running the same business, working towards the same goals. There's no politics, there's no gossip, there's no whinging amongst the management team. But he also talks about everyone in the management team or in the organisation having a 1-page personal plan. And the 5 Fs, if I think off the top of my head, that are the criteria for that 1-page personal plan are finance, friends, family, fitness and faith. And so fitness and faith, whatever your spirituality or your religion is, maybe it's meditation, yoga, maybe it's praying, maybe it's whatever it is, that it's important to be in touch with that part of your life and not just be focused on the business. And in fact, I rate my life, the one area that I need to improve on is my faith area, or what I call my spirituality area. And for me, that just means more slowing down, meditation, bit of yoga, which I'm really crap at, but I'm trying to improve that area of my life because I know that it's all interconnected and it's all very important. I think mindfulness is different for everyone though. Some people just can't meditate. Yeah. And you can find meditation in different forms. Yeah. I mean, meditation is just a formal practice of mindfulness. You don't have to meditate to be mindful. I mean, I'm quite mindful right now, being in Silence is Golden, that this is what I'm doing, and my 100% focus is... Sorry, what? Who what? Anyway, back into the show. All right, so that's what happened in the news this week. Now, there's something that's got your goat this week. It's really pissing me off. Let's do it.
This pisses me off.
I always love when the camera comes back on and it's all red and angry. But the thing that's really annoying me, so I go to my local cafe and all of a sudden they decide to put on a surcharge. And so now there's an extra, I know it's really stupid, it's a 1% surcharge for my credit card, but it's just, why? Like I just sit there going, what a bad user experience to go in there and order what I've ordered for all the time of my life, and now a coffee costs me $4.04 because there's a 1 cent surcharge. And I'm just like, that 4 cents is actually pissing me off. And it's probably pissing lots of people off, but it's not even just like the credit card surcharge. I understand that that's a cost of running business. But like imagine if you went in and ordered a coffee and you wanted milk and sugar and in a takeaway, and they said, okay, well, it's $4 for the coffee, $1 for milk, 50 cents for the sugar, and because we got it in a takeaway cup, it's another, $2. Like that's just going to be a crap user experience, and you kind of sometimes feel cheated. It happened also recently when I was booking on a website for some hotel, and then all of a sudden there's like an $8 booking fee. And I'm like, what for? Like, just build this in to your overhead costs. Like, why give that bad user experience and that reminder that, like, really, am I being ripped off here? Is this really what needs to happen as a user experience? Like, if you're running a business, know what it costs to run your business and sneak these things into your overheads. Like, a cafe charging 1% for a credit card, it just pisses me off.
Fair enough. I agree, 100%. Whenever we book flights, you get to the checkout and you've bought the flight and you've agreed to pay the fee, and then there's an extra $9 to use the credit card. It is a bad experience. So build it into the pricing. Very good. Thanks for that rant, Ray.
No worries. It was good to get that off my chest.
Good. All right, let's dive into the Facebook group. We have had some questions this week, so let's see if we can help people get unstuck.
Let's get unstuck.
I'm not sure that anyone's asked any questions this week, actually. Maybe we can go back and have a look at last week.
Sure, why not?
See if we missed any last week.
There was a lot last week.
There were a lot last week, but I think we answered them all.
But you over-delivered.
We did. We over-delivered. We answered lots of questions this week. Let's go and have a look at the Facebook page, see if anyone watching live, there are currently 23 people watching live, who's got a question about, now actually we're talking about profit. It is profit month here at WP Elevation. It's July, so we're talking about profit. And specifically what we're going to be talking about in a moment is actually using contracts in your business to make sure that you are profitable. Benjamin Katz has a question. He said, wow, this was not intentional. No, the whole first 10 minutes of this show being silent was not intentional. It was a technical error. Angie Neal says, now it seems frozen. Can you guys see us and hear us okay?
Yeah,
just give us a hell yeah in the chat. Not as many comments, now we can hear you. Maybe some more mute time. I'll tell you what. I'm going to hijack James Rose's Facebook group here. I'll tell you why. James Rose and I are having a conversation a little bit later in the week. He's interviewing me on his podcast. James Rose, of course, is from Content Snare and has a Facebook group called Grow Your Web Design Business. And he's interviewing me later on in the week on his podcast all about recurring revenue. So he's put the question in here. Sorry, James, I'm completely hijacking your Facebook group here. He says, I'll be interviewing Troy Dean again because this is one of his most passionate topics to speak about. Do you have any questions about recurring revenue and website care plans? So I'm just going to pick a random question here and try and answer it, okay? Levi says, Troy Dean is awesome. From my impression, he's pretty much a no bullshit kind of guy. There we go. Thank you. Segment over. Oh, sorry. Question. Victoria Judge says, best approach to selling maintenance when 99% of clients don't care about it. I get the focus should be on benefits, not features, but still can't quite nail the verbiage. Love that word, verbiage.
I do too, actually.
It's good, isn't it? Victoria, good question. Best approach to selling maintenance when 99% of clients don't care about it. Well, Victoria, I'm glad you asked. Victoria, if clients don't care about maintenance, then stop selling them maintenance. There's a radical idea. What you've got to do is think about, what does maintenance actually mean to the client? What are they actually buying? So I'll give you a real life example. When I first started selling what I called care plans back in 2000 and long time ago, we basically invented the word care plan because I knew that clients wouldn't pay for maintenance. But I had a client call me up and say, hey, every time and these guys were pretty savvy. They had a WordPress website, they're a non-profit, it was connected to Campaign Monitor, multiple email newsletters going out a day. They're a peak body for a non-profit sector here in Melbourne. And he said, every time I log into WordPress, there are all these red bubbles in the back end telling me to update things, and I'm nervous I'm going to break something. Can I just pay you for the peace of mind to get it done? I said, of course you can. In fact, I have a new peace of mind plan that we've just launched 3.5 seconds ago.
Nice name.
When I get back to the office, I'll send you a link and you can sign up to our new non-profit peace of mind plan. He didn't want to pay for maintenance, he wanted to pay for peace of mind. So, Victoria, if your clients don't care about maintenance, then don't sell them maintenance. Sell them the outcome of maintenance. You and I know that we're going to do maintenance on their website, but sell them the outcome of the maintenance. I hope that answers your question, and I hope you get around to watching this live stream eventually. Otherwise, I'll try and answer that question again on the podcast later this week when James finally gets his internet sorted out. We had to cancel yesterday because, like me, he's on the Australian broadband network, which is otherwise known as the Australian narrowband network.
Makes sense.
That is broken.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
It's kind of like insurance, that reminds me. No one really wants to pay for insurance, but they want the peace of mind of having insurance in case something happens.
Correct. No one wants to pay for insurance until something goes wrong and you get burgled or you crash your car. Exactly. All right, well, it's time to dig into the gold nugget this week.
Time to dig into the gold nugget.
Good stuff. Okay, so the gold nugget this week, because obviously Troy mentioned before that our theme this month is profit. And there's an amazing epic blog post that you should all be checking out that has 24 tips on how to build and sustain a profitable WordPress consulting business. And that can be found at wplinks.io/profit. That'll be consistent through the month of July. So head over and check out that post. There's some really good, I think the whole content is just gold, and there's just really simple ways of looking at your business and just having like that little check-in and go, am I doing that? Could I be doing that a bit better? Do I need to do this, do more of this? But today specifically, I kind of want to focus on point number 12 out of the article, which is all about contracts. And it's also our tool of the week. So I don't know if we cue the tool of the week's bumper as well.
Sure,
so
why not?
Get ready for Tool of the Week.
Just keeping Maxi Boy on his toes, eh?
That's it,
Couple
that's
of
it.
slick moves there on the lighting rig, and it was fancy, wasn't it?
Changes the light colours.
He's pretty good, I must say. You've
Love
taught
it.
him well.
Thank you. So contracts, I think this is a really important part because all too often people start focusing on the wrong part of their business. Instead of being in their sweet spot and working on what they want to actually be working on, they become too caught up in chasing money, avoiding scope creep, working out what was said and who said what and in what order things should have been delivered and why people don't want to pay the balance of their website and why the wireframe doesn't look like the finished product. And luckily enough, in the blueprint, we take you through learning how to overcome a lot of that stuff. But I think from a starting ground, it's just been really clear what's in your contracts, and that really sets the pace of the project with a client from the very start. Now, there's an actual guide. So the next lower third that will be, oh, look at that, I didn't even have to say it, it was already coming up. Well done, Max. So if you go to wplinks.io/contract guide, our amazing content writer who is also a freelancer has put a guide on legally binding contracts. Now, always be mindful that there's jurisdiction rules.
Correct, yes.
So always check this off with local solicitors and lawyers to make sure that you're compliant within your area. But this
Aren't you a lawyer?
No,
I thought you were a lawyer.
Not yet.
Oh,
I'm working on it. On it. I'm doing a night class.
Right,
Yeah.
moonlighting as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not lawyers, by the way, so don't mistake any of this for actual legal advice.
Yeah.
Please.
Please don't. But I think it's just really important to have that conversation and just know what you're doing in your business and getting clear on that really from the start. Have you had much experience of getting this nailed right from the start? Getting the contracts out? Do you like the word contract or agreement?
No, I like agreement.
Agreement,
I like
yeah.
mutual agreement.
Yeah.
I was really bad at this for a long time. However, what I can, I'll tell you a little story about one of the first websites I built. So I was kind of bad at this for a long time, and then someone gave me some advice and said you need to have agreements in place. And so when I actually started getting paid to build websites, because yes, when I first started doing it, I was doing it for free because I didn't know what I was doing, and there was no such thing as WP Elevation around to help me.
You were just working on your portfolio.
That's right, I was working on my portfolio. But one of the first paid websites I built, I did have an agreement, and the client, I was about to deliver the website, and the client got a bit fruity, and someone got in her ear and said, oh, it should be in Flash. It should be all animated and fancy in Flash. And so she said, oh, I don't want the website anymore. I said, well, that's fine, but you're still going to pay me for the work I've done. She took me to court to not have to pay the balance, right? I mean, so it was a $2,500 job. She owed me $1,250. The truth is, if she just disappeared, I probably wouldn't have pursued her because I couldn't afford to hire lawyers and track her down, right? But she took me to court to not have to pay the balance. And so I had all my documentation and all the agreements signed and everything in a folder, and it was in Sydney. I was in Melbourne, so they phoned me in, and she presented her case, which was very emotionally driven. I presented my case, which was very logical and had a signed agreement. And after about 15 minutes, the mediator said, well, this is very simple. You agreed, he's done his job, pay him the money. Bye. So I've only been taken to court once, and I won because I had a contract.
There you go. And you know, it's also the time and effort that takes. You know what I mean? Like, it's a waste
Oh,
of
it was a
everyone's
pain in the ass,
resources
man, and it was stressful for me.
Effort.
And the contract actually wasn't even I didn't have a lawyer draw it up. I literally used Andy Clark's Contract Killer from Stuff and Nonsense. He's a friend of ours at WP Elevation. He's an awesome guy. Just Google Andy Clark, Stuff and Nonsense, Contract Killer. It's an open source web design contract that he, and again, we're not lawyers, neither is he. He disclaims that. But that's all I was using, and it's just a mutual agreement. This is what we agree to do. This is what you agree to do.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two things from the guide that really stand out for me, and I've seen this happen a lot of times, is the additional expenses. If you're buying plugins or themes, who covers that cost? Is that included in the original price? Is it now an add-on because you're out of pocket? And copyright, who owns the website? You know, and until it's paid, who's the copyright owner?
Yeah, that's
You
right.
look at things like 99 Designs and some of those crowdsourcing apps. The designer owns the copyright, and when you make the final payment, the copyright gets transferred into the new person's name. So I think, you know, building in systems like that in your own business is also very powerful.
That's right. In fact, part of our verbiage in our mutual agreement is that we actually own the intellectual property in the HTML and the CSS that we produce. WordPress, no one owns it. It's open source. It's released under the GPL, so you can't own it. There are no owners. But if we write any HTML or CSS or PHP or jQuery or any other code, then we own the intellectual property in that, and we actually give a license to the client to use it on their website. But we actually own the intellectual property. And you need to be very clear about that, because if, for example, you design, so back in the day we used to design beautiful image sliders, and before WordPress had image slider plugins, we would write our own HTML and JavaScript and CSS to make image sliders on home pages. And if you don't cover yourself in your contract, when the client buys that, they could actually turn around and say, well, you now can't use that on another client website because I've paid you to develop it and we own the IP. So you want to make sure that you own the IP for the things that you develop, and you license it to your clients to use it on their project. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so don't mistake this for actual legal advice.
Love it.
Very good. So, hey, that's the tool of the week. That is the gold nugget. We've done what pisses me off. We've answered a question. I actually just jumped into James Rose's Facebook group. Sorry to hijack your thread, dude. And I stuck the video of Silence is Golden in there as the answer.
There you go.
There we go. I hope James is okay with that.
He has
Just feel
to be.
free to remove it if that's not okay.
I love those posts like, admin, please delete if this is not okay. If you have it to question that,
Correct.
it might not
It's
be
probably
okay.
not okay. That's right. Exactly. Hey, as Ray said, the WP Wednesday is a weekly newsletter that we put out full of WordPress and freelancing tips and advice. You can learn more at thewpwednesday.com. Is that right?
That's correct.
Thewpwednesday.com. You can sign up to that list and get an email from us once a week with tips, and it's a beautiful looking kind of newspaper style magazine.
What day does it go out?
Newspaper. Goes out Wednesdays.
Wow.
Yeah. Which Wednesday? Ours or the Americans?
It's the battle. It's 7 p.m. our Wednesday. We hope it's just midnight on their time.
The good thing about having lots of customers in North America is we've basically got a 48-hour window to publish the WP Wednesday, and somewhere, one of our customers, it's going to be Wednesday.
It's true.
Even if we do it really early, it'll be Wednesday in New Zealand. If we do it really late, it'll be Wednesday in Los Angeles. But we basically got almost a 48-hour window. And look at that. Did you just make that on the fly, Max? Stop it! Look at Max go, hey?
There you
The WPWednesday.com. There we go.
Check it out.
And also, if you're enjoying Silence is Golden, then like us on Facebook, share it with your friend, leave a comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell to get notified, and go to wpelevation.com/Snapchat for an Easter egg.
What's there? Ooh.
We don't use Snapchat.
We don't.
Well, there we go.
That's
I
it.
think we're done.
That's it. Yep.
So now, just a little
Sidebar.
little sidebar here. Going to open the kimono and show you behind the scenes. What happens now is in our little process here, we've done the call to action, which we just did. After the show,
You can share if you want.
we need to decide on the core topic for next week. Actually, let's do that. Let's share Ray's screen, Max, and we'll just show you the process. here that we've got going on. So here we go. In Asana, we have a template set up. After the show, we're going to decide on the core topic for next week, which we never do. Blog post. Write up the show notes, Maddie will do that. Proof the Silence is Golden blog, which Maddie will do. Promote this week's episode in social media, which Maddie will do.
Thanks, Maddie.
Then send the email to the list and let them know that it's live. Do the social media posts, publish the blog post, tag mentioned people for influencer outreach, and email to news sources, which we don't do because we're still sort of figuring out the process. But at least we know what we should be doing. This is like the gold standard of each episode of Silence is Golden. Maddie has very excitedly and excitingly, there we go, come on 3 days a week as our content project manager. Yes. So she will be managing all the content and making sure everything gets published on time, which will free up a bit of Ray's bandwidth, hopefully. And then Ray and Maddie and I can sit down and work out and how to systemize the influencer outreach so that when we mention people like James Rose from Contents Now in the episode, we can then tag him and get him to share it. And that's how we're planning on building our audience and improving the impact that we're having.
You do share all our secrets.
I do. Well, that's
it's
right.
Good. It's good.
But I just thought it would be interesting to know that we do have a process for this. Even though we're not following it 100% of the time, we do have a process and we know what we're working towards.
Yeah. And we are doing it sometimes. We have reached out a couple of times and we're just testing the waters of the best way. Is it on LinkedIn? Is it, getting their Facebook page? Where are people who are running businesses and being busy actually going to have their eyeballs to notice what we're doing? And recently, Canva reached out. Like they actually have a process internally where they're picking up when they're being mentioned, and so they detected that we mentioned them in one of our how-to videos, and we didn't have a link to them. So they kindly asked if we could link to them, and then that opened up a discussion on how we can start partnering and doing some further JVing.
Perfect. Beautiful.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
That's how it works. Carl Godfrey says, what is it with customers and contracts and getting them to sign? It's a complete ball ache. Anyone else have this issue?
Wow.
Ball ache. Wow, there we go.
Talking about contracts, I think they need to be digitally signed if we're going to be running digital businesses.
Oh, totally.
None of this paper stuff.
Yeah.
And they, there's so many tools and HelloSign.
HelloSign.com.
Better proposals.
HelloSign.com is actually what our lawyer sends us. We just signed off on an employment agreement for our new staff member who starts next week. Very excited to share that news with you when it happens. So we just signed an employment contract with him, and it was done through HelloSign. Our lawyer sent it to us, sent it to him. We all signed. Beautiful. We've now got that document signed by everyone. No paper involved.
3 people signed it within about 2 hours.
Yeah, love it. There's no excuse to be sending things in the post and getting people to sign and scan, email, print this out, sign it and scan it back. No, you goose, put it in HelloSign.
I love those little posters like sign here and sign here, the little tabs. Are you kidding me?
Please. All right, this has been fun, even if technically it has been a little bit challenging. We've learned a lot. We're going to go and fix our processes now, make sure that doesn't happen again, or if it does, make sure it's intentional to trick the Facebook algorithm into giving us lots of comments so that we go viral. Look forward to seeing you next week on the show. I think, is Simon back next week?
Just. Right. He might be extremely jet lagged, and who knows? Maybe I'll make a.
He might be on the bench, and he might have to fight his way back into the team. I'm telling you. Maybe you and Simon can run a couple of episodes, and I'll just go and try and correct.
Will you be okay with that?
I'll be fine. Trust me, I'll be fine.
Good stuff.
Look forward to seeing you on the show next week. Until then, I'm Troy Dean.
I'm Ray Miladoni. Knowledge is power.
Silence is golden.